Welcome to this scientific exploration of neurodiversity advantages. Today we're going to examine why atypical brains often see patterns, solutions, and possibilities that neurotypical minds miss entirely. Let's start with a fundamental question. What exactly is neurodiversity? Neurodiversity refers to the natural variation in human brain function and cognition. Just as biodiversity strengthens ecosystems, neurodiversity enriches human problem-solving capabilities. This encompasses conditions like autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, dyslexia, and other cognitive variations that have been historically pathologized but are increasingly recognized as natural human variants. Think of neurodiversity not as a deficit model, but as a difference model. These aren't broken brains that need fixing, but rather brains that process information through alternative pathways. One of the most remarkable advantages of neurodiverse brains is enhanced pattern recognition. Let me explain why this matters scientifically. Research by Laurent Mautroun and colleagues has demonstrated that autistic individuals often exhibit what's called enhanced perceptual functioning. This means they process sensory details more intensely and accurately. Imagine looking at a complex data visualization with thousands of points. While neurotypical observers might see general trends, neurodiverse individuals often spot subtle patterns, outliers, and anomalies that others completely overlook. Let's examine a concrete example from the aerospace industry. Why would NASA and other tech companies actively recruit autistic individuals for data analysis? At the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, analyzing satellite imagery requires detecting minute anomalies in massive data sets. Autistic employees have demonstrated superior accuracy in identifying instrumental errors, atmospheric disturbances, and novel astronomical phenomena. Studies of mixed neurotypical and neurodiverse teams show pattern detection accuracy increased by up to 40% compared to homogeneous neurotypical teams. Another significant advantage is what researchers call hyperfocus. But what exactly is happening in the brain during these deep concentration states? ADHD brains, often criticized for distractibility, possess a remarkable capacity for hyperfocus. When engaged with stimulating material, individuals with ADHD can enter flow states lasting hours, producing creative output that exceeds typical attention spans. Think of neurotypical attention like a flashlight beam that moves frequently, illuminating many areas briefly. Hyperfocus is like a laser that penetrates deeply into one area, revealing layers of detail invisible to scattered attention. Why does this happen? The answer lies in dopamine regulation. ADHD brains have altered dopamine transporter density, meaning they require higher stimulation for reward pathway activation. Task engagement equals novelty times interest, divided by dopamine threshold. When novelty and interest are sufficiently high, ADHD brains overcome their elevated threshold and achieve extraordinary focus. Let me ask you this. Why are many groundbreaking programmers, engineers, and mathematicians on the autism spectrum? Simon Baron-Cohen's Systemizing theory proposes that autistic cognition excels at identifying rules, patterns, and logical systems. This isn't just anecdotal, it's measurable in cognitive tests. Programming provides a perfect environment for systemizing minds. Code follows absolute logical rules with no ambiguity. If A, then B, always. This predictability and rule-based structure is deeply satisfying to autistic cognition. In software debugging, autistic engineers often outperform peers because they methodically trace logical pathways, resist cognitive shortcuts, and maintain focus on minute syntactical details that others overlook. Now let's discuss visual thinking. Temple Grandin, the renowned animal scientist and autism advocate, famously said she thinks in pictures, not words. What does neuroscience tell us about this? Functional MRI studies demonstrate that many autistic individuals show enhanced activation in visual cortex regions during problem-solving tasks, even when the tasks are not explicitly visual. Visual thinkers construct mental models of problems. When designing machinery, architecture, or even abstract concepts, they can mentally rotate, manipulate, and test ideas before physical prototyping. Temple Grandin revolutionized cattle handling equipment because she could visualize the animal's perspective, mentally walking through chutes and corrals, identifying stress points that verbal thinkers missed entirely. Here's a critical question. If neurodiverse individuals think differently, does this translate to enhanced creativity? Research shows dyslexic individuals are significantly overrepresented among successful entrepreneurs. Studies suggest up to 35% of U.S. entrepreneurs are dyslexic, compared to 10 to 15% in the general population. Why this advantage? Dyslexic brains often compensate for reading challenges by developing enhanced spatial reasoning, narrative thinking, and big-picture perspective. They excel at connecting disparate ideas. Think of it as cognitive flexibility. While neurotypical thinking often follows linear pathways within domains, dyslexic thinking makes unexpected leaps across domains, connecting ideas from business, art, science, and personal experience. Richard Branson and Charles Schwab both credit their dyslexia with entrepreneurial success, noting it forced them to develop delegation skills, holistic thinking, and narrative communication that became business advantages. Let's explore another advantage: exceptional attention to detail. But we must ask, is this always beneficial? In fields requiring quality control, autistic workers demonstrate remarkable accuracy. Studies in manufacturing show error detection rates 15 to 20% higher than neurotypical peers. Imagine inspecting thousands of components on an assembly line. Neurotypical attention fatigues, begins pattern matching, and misses subtle deviations. Neurodiverse attention maintains vigilance, treating each item as unique. The trade-off? Enhanced local processing can sometimes come at the expense of global processing. Seeing trees brilliantly, but occasionally missing the forest. This is why diverse teams are crucial. Memory systems in neurodiverse brains often show fascinating specializations. What does the research reveal? Some autistic individuals demonstrate superior long-term memory consolidation, particularly for visual information, systematic knowledge, and specific interest domains. Calendar calculation abilities, where individuals can instantly determine the day of the week for any date, demonstrate how autistic brains can develop extraordinary specialized memory systems. This isn't rote memorization. Research suggests these individuals develop algorithmic mental strategies, effectively running calendar calculations unconsciously, demonstrating how atypical cognitive architecture enables abilities impossible for neurotypical minds. Edward de Bono popularized the term lateral thinking. How does neurodiversity contribute to this type of problem solving? Multiple studies link ADHD with enhanced creative problem solving. When faced with obstacles, ADHD individuals generate more varied solution pathways compared to control groups. The mechanism? Reduce cognitive inhibition. While neurotypical brains filter out seemingly irrelevant associations, ADHD brains maintain access to broader associative networks, enabling unexpected connections. Imagine approaching a maze. Neurotypical cognition often commits to one pathway, following it systematically. ADHD cognition simultaneously explores multiple pathways, switching rapidly, which paradoxically sometimes leads to faster solutions. Let's ground this in practical applications. Where are these advantages being leveraged in industry today? Major tech companies including SAP, Microsoft, and JP Morgan Chase have established neurodiversity hiring programs, specifically targeting autistic talent for roles in software testing, data analytics, and cybersecurity. In cybersecurity, neurodiverse analysts excel at detecting novel attack vectors because they're less influenced by assumptions about how attacks should look. They notice anomalies that pattern-matching algorithms miss. The Danish Defense Intelligence Service actively recruits autistic individuals for signals intelligence, reporting that their ability to maintain focus on repetitive analytical tasks and spot subtle patterns provides strategic advantages. Here's a provocative question. If these cognitive variations provide advantages, why does evolution maintain them in the population? Some evolutionary psychologists propose neurodiversity represents balanced polymorphism, where different cognitive strategies are advantageous in different contexts, maintaining genetic diversity. Think of ancient human groups. Neurotypical individuals might excel at social coordination and communication. Autistic individuals might notice environmental patterns, track animal behavior, or develop specialized tool-making skills. ADHD individuals might be excellent scouts, able to maintain vigilance and respond rapidly to novel stimuli, different brains for different survival challenges. The hunter versus farmer hypothesis proposes ADHD traits were advantageous in nomadic hunter-gatherer contexts, requiring rapid attention shifting, hyperfocus during hunting, and high stimulation tolerance. This brings us to a crucial scientific principle: cognitive complementarity. What happens when you combine neurotypical and neurodiverse thinking? Research consistently shows that cognitively diverse teams outperform homogeneous teams in complex problem-solving tasks, innovation metrics, and error detection. The synergy works like this. Neurotypical team members provide social coordination, contextual interpretation, and global perspective. Neurodiverse members provide analytical rigor, detail detection, and systematic thinking. Neither is superior, both are essential. A Harvard Business Review study of neurodiversity programs reported productivity gains of up to 30% in roles leveraging these cognitive strengths, along with improved team innovation metrics. We must address this honestly. If neurodiverse brains have advantages, why do these individuals often struggle in traditional environments? The answer is straightforward. Most educational and workplace environments are optimized for neurotypical cognition. Open offices, fluorescent lighting, frequent meetings, and multitasking requirements create cognitive load that specifically disadvantages neurodiverse processing. This is environmental mismatch, not cognitive deficiency. Imagine asking a submarine to fly or an airplane to dive. Neither is broken, they're optimized for different environments. Simple accommodations transform performance. Quiet workspaces, flexible schedules, written communication options, and clear expectations can unlock the cognitive advantages we've discussed. Microsoft's Autism hiring program reports 90% retention rates and exceptional performance reviews when appropriate accommodations are provided, compared to industry average retention of around 50%. Let's examine the neurological basis for these differences. What do brain imaging studies reveal? Brain imaging consistently shows that neurodiverse brains exhibit altered connectivity patterns, not damage or deficiency. Autistic brains often show enhanced local connectivity within regions, but different long-range connectivity between regions. ADHD brains show structural and functional differences in prefrontal cortex and reward circuits, explaining both attention regulation challenges and hyperfocus capabilities. Dyslexic brains demonstrate altered organization in visual and language processing regions, often with compensatory development in spatial reasoning areas. These are organizational differences in neural architecture. Like two computers running different operating systems, both can perform complex computations, but they process information through different pathways with different strengths. As we conclude, let's consider the future implications of neurodiversity research. Where is this field heading? We're moving toward precision medicine approaches that provide targeted support for challenges while leveraging cognitive strengths, rather than trying to normalize atypical brains. Educational systems are slowly recognizing that one-size-fits-all instruction fails many students. Personalized learning technologies and flexible assessment methods show particular promise for neurodiverse learners. Workplace design is incorporating neurodiversity principles, sensory-friendly spaces, flexible communication norms, and outcome-based rather than process-based evaluation. Artificial intelligence and assistive technologies are being developed specifically to support areas of challenge while enhancing areas of strength. Think AI writing assistants for dyslexic entrepreneurs or attention management tools for ADHD engineers. Let me synthesize the key scientific takeaways from this exploration. First, neurodiversity represents natural cognitive variation, not inherent deficiency. Different neural architectures produce different information processing strategies. Second, these differences confer measurable advantages in pattern recognition, detail detection, systemizing, hyperfocus, and divergent thinking. Third, challenges experienced by neurodiverse individuals often stem from environmental mismatch rather than cognitive limitation. Accommodations unlock performance. Fourth, cognitively diverse teams consistently outperform homogeneous teams in complex problem-solving, innovation, and error detection. Fifth, evolutionary perspectives suggest neurodiversity is maintained because different cognitive strategies are advantageous in different contexts, enhancing group adaptation. We're witnessing a fundamental paradigm shift in how we understand human cognition, from viewing neurodiversity as disorder to recognizing it as variation. from deficit models to difference models, from attempting to fix to providing accommodations. This represents genuine scientific progress in understanding human cognitive diversity. In conclusion, atypical brains see what others miss not despite their differences, but because of them. Organizations, research teams, and societies that successfully leverage neurodiversity gain measurable competitive advantages in innovation, problem-solving, and adaptation. The future increasingly belongs to cognitively diverse teams that combine complementary cognitive strengths to tackle complex challenges. Embracing neurodiversity isn't merely an ethical imperative or inclusion initiative. It's scientifically smart strategy backed by rigorous research demonstrating performance advantages. Thank you for joining this scientific exploration of neurodiversity advantages. The evidence is clear. Atypical brains bring unique and valuable perspectives that enrich human problem-solving capabilities in measurable ways.